you're thinking about moving to Merritt Island, Florida. Well, today I am going to go over 15 things that you should know when considering moving to Merritt Island. Coming from a local, someone who's lived here for a few years now, I help many people move to the area. So today we're going to go over those 15 things and we're going to get into it right now. All right, so number one is its location. So Merritt Island is on the east coast of Florida. It's about an hour east of Orlando, and it's kind of northern central of the county. Pretty convenient spot if you're working in aerospace or looking for somewhere close to the beach. It's only about 15-25 minutes depending on where you live in Merritt Island. It's also home to Kennedy Space Center, which I'm going to get into in the next one. It's located an hour away from Orlando, 45 minutes from their Orlando airport. It's between the Banana River and the Indian River, which is the intercoastal. So it's a boater's paradise. It's absolutely amazing if you love to boat, go boating, water sports, or just enjoy the scenery. It's very beautiful. That's one thing that makes Merritt Island very special and that I love so much about living here. Okay, so number two is that we are home to the Kennedy Space Center, NASA, Blue Origin, SpaceX, a bunch of the contractors that are in the aerospace industry right now. So big for an employment hub for aerospace. We have a lot of people coming into the area that absolutely love it here. It's providing a lot of jobs for locals, which is great. A rocket literally just went up. I'm a little bit nervous that the sonic booms might happen, so you might see me get a little bit of a fright. But essentially, we have rocket launches pretty much weekly now. It's so funny, when I first moved here, it was like once every 3 months, and now we're getting them once, twice a week, which is really crazy. They kind of sound like an airplane launching, or it sounds like your air conditioner is turning on. So sometimes we're like, is it the air conditioning or is it a rocket? Not all the time we get sonic booms. What causes sonic booms is when the booster comes back to land. If they land close by in Cape Canaveral or Merritt Island, we typically hear a loud bang. Sometimes it can be annoying if it happens at night, but it happens maybe once a month, or once every 2 months. Otherwise, they usually land the boosters out in the ocean, and we don't hear those. Just something to know if you're a little bit noise sensitive. We do have those noises that can happen in the middle of the night sometimes, but for the most part, you get used to it and it doesn't necessarily bother people. It's super cool living here. I still get shivers sometimes when I watch the launches. If you can actually hear the launch, it means you're too late. So you want to make sure you download an app that keeps you updated on when launches happen. If you come to visit, just know that when they give you a time window, sometimes it doesn't happen still, or sometimes it's not going to happen right when it begins. They do get what's called scrubbed quite often, especially because of the weather. Keep that in mind. That's really great, especially raising kids. They're always excited when they see the rocket, so it's really cool. And of course, we have the Kennedy Space Center, the museum as well. So they host a lot of events too, which are really fun. We try to go every year, at least once to one of the events or for the Christmas lights. It's also just really great having that as well. Okay, number three is Merritt Island is part of the barrier island. Just because it's not oceanfront doesn't mean we're still in between two rivers. So we're part of the barrier island, and some awesome perks to that. Of course, you can have a house riverfront that you can take your boat out and go wherever. It's beautiful scenery throughout when you're driving. The cons are when you have a hurricane, you're more prone to damage. We haven't had anything bad since living here. We have gone through a couple of hurricanes. For both hurricanes, we did have 2 pieces of our fence fall down. It was an older fence. That's the worst of it, but it's Florida, so we are prone to that. You have to be okay with that. We hold flood insurance for both our houses, even though they are not in flood zones. They're both under $1,000. One's $850, one's $650, so a year. I think it's worth it. The area does get some flooding in the streets during hurricanes or big storms, but not necessarily in homes ever, but it's Florida, so you want to make sure you're protected. And also, if there is a hurricane, there is rumors that they close the bridges. They don't close the bridges. However, if they announce that Merritt Island needs to evacuate, which I've never been here when we had to, that's for if we're getting a direct Cat 4 or Cat 5, you are expected to go inland east of US 1. If you don't know if you need emergency services, I believe they do not come out to you. So I think that's kind of the catch. Otherwise, we haven't ran into that yet. but it's Florida. So always be prepared and know if you do want to live in Merritt Island, this is what you get with being a part of Merritt Island in Florida. Okay, number 4 is the culture. What makes up Merritt Island? Merritt Island has a lot of locals that have lived here for many years, generations of the 1960s space age, all the way up to people I help every day move into the area, including ourselves. We are transplants. We've only been here a few years. We absolutely love it. It's definitely a mix of people from all different ages, families, working professionals, young working professionals to retirees. Something I really do love, our neighborhood, for example, we had hundreds of trick-or-treaters just out in the road, trick-or-treating, and like some of our neighbors had haunted houses and parties. We have events for 4th of July and so forth. It's just a really cool area if you're looking to raise a family or be friendly with your neighbors. So we definitely have a really great culture over here. In the 4th of July, for example, there's fireworks going off nonstop all week. For some people like me, I'm not the biggest fan of that because my dogs are terrified. But it's really fun, especially for little ones, to see all of that. So, lots of things to do, lots of events that go on. It's a great place to live for that reason. Okay, number 5, and this is kind of the outdoor lifestyle that you are able to have when you live in Merritt Island. Like I mentioned earlier, we are surrounded by 2 rivers. So if you love to go boating, it's super easy. We also have parks that you can use the ramp to let your boat in. If you're not waterfront, we are known as the boater capital of Brevard County. We bring a lot of boating enthusiasts and fishermen and all of that. So lots to do, not just if you're having boat. You definitely want to make friends with someone, or there's a bunch of boat charters that you can have, but there's just the outdoor lifestyle in general, from water sports, jet skiing, kayaking, paddleboarding, and riding your bike around. There's tons of hikes. The wildlife sanctuary has some great hikes. Lots of things to do outdoors all year round, which is wonderful. Keeps us active. When I moved here, I lost weight. I kept it off. Living somewhere that has a winter, you definitely have an easier time down here to stay in shape and overall just be happy and get some vitamin D from the sun. Okay, real quick before I get to number 6, my name is Rachel Langley. I'm a local real estate agent, and I help people every day move to both Merritt Island and the Space Coast in general. So if you're looking to make the move, make sure to reach out. You can call, text, or email me, AM or PM, day or night. My information is on the screen right now, in the pinned comments, and in the description. So if you have any questions or would like to get started on your home search, just give me a holler. And while I have you, if you could click the subscribe button and click that like button, that way YouTube knows that you like these videos and like to see more of them when they're posted every weekend. Okay, number 6, beach life. So like I mentioned, the beach is about 15 minutes away, but if you're living at like north of Merritt Island or south Merritt Island, it might be more like 25 minutes. The closest beaches are Cape Canaveral or Cocoa Beach. I prefer Cape Canaveral because it has free parking at the end of all the streets. I don't like paying for parking. And the beaches are wonderful. We have miles and miles stretches of beach, so you never have to worry about being on top of other people. If you do need a lifeguard and some bathrooms, you are more congested because there's the parks, like Lori Wilson Park. Otherwise, you can be super spread out. The water is warm most of the year besides the winter time. It gets cold, and it's just such a great place to live. For that reason, I absolutely love just going to the beach, sitting down, even if it's in the winter time, and watching the waves. You can even watch the cruise ships leave because we have the cruise port close by as well. Living by the beach is such a relaxing feeling, and highly recommend living here for that reason. It's super close, but you're not paying for a beach town price. Okay, speaking of prices, number 7, the cost of living. So Merritt Island, being on the barrier island, is going to be more expensive than you'll find inland like Melbourne, Rockledge, Cocoa, Titusville. But it is less expensive than Cape Canaveral or Cocoa Beach. So you kind of get that middle ground. You can find a home for under $300,000. It's definitely going to be an older, smaller home, but a great starter or empty nester home. You can get a great 4-bedroom home with a pool for $750,000, which in other areas of Florida is a shoebox, or other cities in the United States is a shoebox for $750,000. So it's just a subjective depending on where you're coming from. But for the most part, Merritt Island can be affordable. Grocery prices are a lot more affordable than other parts of the United States. And taxes are lower because it is Brevard County jurisdiction, so you're not paying for a city hall or city officials. We're part of the county. Some people don't love that because some things are a little bit slower, like maintaining the grass around certain roads. But For the most part, people like it. I like it because it keeps the taxes down low. All right, number 8, speaking of older homes, you have to be careful. I get a lot of people who reach out to me and send me homes in their price range in their 1960s. Some homes from the 1960s have had the plumbing changed out. If they have not, you're looking at significant repairs in the next few years from the cast iron piping underneath the slab. So it's a big deal. It's something to definitely know about, and you want to be either find a home that has PVC piping or be okay with the fact that you're going to have that extra expense. We can try to negotiate it, but you still have to make repairs that will interrupt you living in the home. So that's one thing to look out for in older homes. Anything pre-1977-ish is usually going to have cast iron if it hasn't been changed out. And then also electrical, you can run into cloth wiring in these older homes, but a lot of the roofs in that age are not strapped down or don't have the clips. And all those things are what makes insurance a lot less expensive here, is when you have those items done. So that's another thing, that's another topic. I have plenty of videos on insurance. You can get insurance in Merritt Island. I have them on both my homes here, but it's definitely a lot more cheaper when you have certain things done to the home already that a newer home typically already has. Okay, number 9, newcomers. Are they welcomed? I was a newcomer a few years ago and I was definitely welcomed. Of course, we joined the local Facebook group and we're absolutely petrified because there are definitely people who are going to hate on you. You know, hey, I'm moving to the area. What's I'm going to do? Go New York, my Florida. We get it. I understand it's definitely getting more populated in this area, but you know, it's a free country and we can live anywhere we want. And for the most part, a lot of people here are transplants as well. Super friendly. Most of us are in the same boat. So just don't get turned off by the keyboard warriors on the internet. In person, people are super friendly. Neighbors wave to you. People at the coffee shop take the time to hear about your day, which was something that was kind of a culture shock to me. So just don't be too scared of that. Very welcoming in that sense. Okay, number 10 is that it is developing pretty rapidly ever since Elon Musk brought SpaceX over here, and the aerospace industry has been growing. Probably half of my clients this year are working for some sort of aerospace company. Lots of developments in play in North Merritt Island. Newer homes are great because they are built to Miami-Dade standard, which helps with insurance. It just helps with storm. It just helps when there's some big storms. There's new homes that you might be interested in, but some locals don't love that because places that animals are living are being uprooted. So there's pros and cons to it. But it is definitely a developing area in North Merritt Island. For other parts of Merritt Island, it's pretty much already developed. There's not much land in Central Merritt Island or South Merritt Island. If you are looking for new construction, you're going to be looking in North Merritt Island, which is close to those aerospace companies, which is great, but you're also farther away from the center of, where Target is, Publix, and so forth. All right, number 11, the schools. As a real estate agent, I cannot comment on schools because it can be against fair housing laws. I can only comment on what you can find online, like school ratings and so forth. A lot of schools are mixed between A, B, and C, so definitely do your research if those ratings are important to you. Look into the programs offered. We also have Edgewood, which is a choice school. It's top rated in Florida. A choice school, basically you enter into a lottery the year before, and if you're picked, great. There's also private schools. And there's also A-rated schools in Cocoa Beach. If there's space at the schools, you can ask the principal if your child can go there. You just have to drive them, but there's options. Number 12 is the travel options. Merritt Island is pretty centrally located in the county. Travel opportunities, it's super easy to get to the beach, get to Melbourne, get to Vieira for the Avenues and Outdoor Mall, get to Orlando an hour away, get to the airport 45 minutes away. Miami is only about 3 hours. We're also getting a Brightline stop, which is going to help with getting to South Florida easier, and also Orlando easier. That's a few years out, so don't necessarily count on that happening in the next couple of years. Lots of travel opportunities just living here and being close to a lot of places on the east coast of Florida. Tampa is also only 2 hours away when there's not traffic. So great opportunities to explore Florida in general just by living here. All right, number 13 is the traffic. Now, if you ask someone who's lived here for many years, they're gonna say the traffic is horrible, but there's no stop and go traffic. The worst part of the traffic in Merritt Island is off Courtney. It's spelled Courtenay, but everyone calls it Courtney. It's where all the shops are: Target, Publix, Home Depot, a bunch of restaurants. It's just super congested. There's also a lot of homes in that central Merritt Island area. So that area can definitely be lots of more cars on the roads and a lot more lights. So that's kind of the most congested area that I run into. If there's an accident on 528, then there's traffic, but otherwise that moves completely fine. And then 520, which is also a main road, moves completely fine as well. In my opinion, the traffic isn't terrible. We did have some issues going into Cocoa Village, which is an awesome downtown area that I absolutely love, recommend visiting. We did have some issues the past year there, but they opened up a road now. So I haven't had any issues with traffic ever since. The traffic to me isn't bad. It just depends on kind of where you're coming from, what you're used to when it comes to traffic. Okay, number 14 is that there's no nightlife and Merritt Island is super residential. So there's definitely some like hole in the wall bars, and there's a bar off 520 that's open all night long. But for nightlife and live music, not necessarily much in Merritt Island itself. But we are located only about 15 minutes from downtown Cocoa Beach, which is super fun. And then also Cocoa Village, which is in Cocoa, not Cocoa Beach, two different cities. Cocoa Village is also super fun. So, once in a blue moon want to go out, we will go to either Cocoa Village, take an Uber. It's pretty cheap, and just have a fun night out. And then we do have restaurants in Merritt Island, but a lot of them are in strip malls or the mall. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, it's mostly residential. And then we're just super close to other areas in different cities. Okay, number 15, last but not least. Sometimes when I have people visit, they ask about the smell. We live near the ocean and in between two rivers. So sometimes you can get a little bit salty, that ocean smell that isn't so pleasant. It's not every day by any means. Kind of depends on which ways the wind's blowing. But if you're visiting for only one day and you're turned off by the smell, it's not every day. It is definitely from the water. It's just part of living next to the beach and living in between two rivers. So just keep that in mind. All right, that's all I have for you today. I absolutely love living in Merritt Island. It's so fun. It's so easy and convenient to get to the beach, to get to other areas of the county, especially as a real estate agent. I have to get all over. I work with the whole Space Coast, so it just is super convenient to get around. And the people living here, I absolutely love my neighbors and everyone I've met so far from living here for a few years. So if you're still interested in moving to the area after listening to all I have to say today, make sure to reach out. I'd love to help you and your family make the move to the Space Coast. I help many people every year do the same, and they absolutely love it. So definitely reach out. My information is on the screen, comments, and description below. I'm Rachel Langley. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.